Okay, I think that I've studied up enough on how this rockshaft system works to be emotionally prepared to dig into it. So I'm going to start off with there's these two big springs. I think the very first thing I got to do is get these springs undone. Once you pull this long skinny spring, that other one, this whole linkage system will fly up. So this one is all you need to do. And I bit it with the channel locks right here, and I walked it out. Now that I've got these springs off and I'm looking at this whole linkage mechanism, I think the first thing I'm going to do is pull these two bolts that holds that cast bracket, which seems to have most of this little works in here anchored to it. Well, I can't get a socket on either one of these bolts without this rod out of the way. So first thing, I'm going to pull this E-clip, and note that that rod has a dog leg into the right. 9/16 bolt heads. Don't forget that this heavy spring tab sits in here like that onto the left side toward this oil feed tube. Now the next thing I'm going to do, now that these bolts are removed, this whole little rack system is loose, and I'm going to be undoing that E-clip right there. And before I forget, this linkage, this one here, see there's this pin, and the ground foot of this rocker and this rocker, they both sandwich that pin. And that's an easy thing for me to get wrong. They both sandwich that pin like this. So this one on the top and that one on the bottom. Strangely to me, that thing was double E-clipped right there. It had one fat E-clip and one skinny one, almost like the inner one was being used as a washer to take up slack. Not sure what to think of that. Now it looks to me like the next thing I can do is pull that pin right there, maintaining this linkage without me, that piece slides, but it's held captive by those two welded pins. Yeah, okay, so that's a floating pin. This has got a bolt, but it's probably cranked in there and staked pretty tight. I don't want to undo anything if I don't have to. This will come off just as soon as I get that unpinned. So this piece here is my next section to come off. It looks to me like the last thing I have to do before I can pull this assembly is just pull out this little femur joint. It's just a little ball joint that gets plunged by the piston face right there to raise your rock shaft. This is what allows your draft arms to be lifted up by a rock or a stump. Well, that's kinky. Now you got 4 bolts that hold this unit in, which, let's see if they're at an angle. Wow, I'm surprised that 3/8 impact could do that. I thought I was gonna have to break them loose. All right, last one. I'm gonna crack that slow. Got a little bit of oil coming out. It doesn't seem like it's moved at all. So pull those last. All right, that should be it. I think I'm gonna have to put this down, but I think I can lift that unit out now. Careful not to bend that oil tube. Wasn't quite as bad as I expected. You tip that up, you can see there's 2 seals right there. Those ones look fine, but here's what you're gonna find on the side of it. You got this, whatever this valve on top is, it's got an oil tube to lubricate that, or a piston, a linkage here, a push-pull spool right there, a push-pull spool. Whatever that adjustment is, I don't know, but I don't think I want to mess with it. And you got that, looks like it's staked. I'm not sure if I should fiddle with any of this. That looks like a relief poppet. Looks like that's an adjustable relief with a spring. There's a spring in there, I can see it. This is a spring seat, and then that's been adjusted and staked. So I imagine that this is considered a removable cartridge assembly. Got another one right here. That's staked also. So, geez, I'm not too sure how far I want to go into opening that valve. I'll let you know what happens. This is the valve popped off the other direction. Now this sealing washer seems like it goes right there. Do you reckon that'll cause a leak? And here's the issue. That bolt broke off in there. So, next question is, can I get it out without doing any damage? So here's a little plastic seated poppet valve assembly that goes into this bore right here. And this one's got a nice little metal chip embedded in it. So it's not great, probably not the end of the world, but it's not great. I'll try to hopefully salvage that, get that chip out, and I don't know that I could recondition that seat, but getting the chip out would be a benefit. Lucky me. Here's a cartridge relief, pre-staked, pre-adjusted. It's got an O-ring on it. It's real flat. I'm going to probably order a replacement. Goes in that pocket right there. There's your piston. One big slug. Rubber O-ring. Looks like maybe 2 backer rings. I'm going to price it. It's kind of flattened, but we'll see. Okay, so there's an O-ring on each port here when you take this valve off of there. So I'm on Messick's. Got my serial number brake. I'm in hydraulics, book 7, 10-27 is the draft control guts. There's that plastic poppet, part number 4. Look at the price on that stupid thing. So that ain't happening. I'm gonna replace the O-ring for that piston, the O-rings for these 2 valves right there, and I'm trying to decide what all in here is smart to replace. I don't know that I want to go in there unless there's any rubber, but I'm not sure yet. So if I've got this figured out right, there's 2, I got one stuck here and one stuck there, but this joint right here, there's 2 rubber O-rings that are quite affordable. That's number 37, part 272142, and I'm on the lower serial brake machines, below 21,000. So that's a $1.94 at Messick's, these rubber ones. This single larger ring, I believe, is part 15, 388591R1, which is $22, but that one looks fine. And this yellow trio is part number 14, 1970904 Charlie 1 for $1864. So maybe my local dealer's got one of those in stock and I can get this back together today.